I sold my motorcycle to pay for her father's surgery. She cried, said no one had ever loved her that much. 2 weeks later, I walked into her office and heard her say, "He's just the backup. I don't even like him that way." I didn't say a word. But 24 hours later, she lost something that meant everything to her. I'm Eric. I'm 34. I work full-time as a diesel mechanic in Tacoma, Washington. I don't make a ton of money, but I live simple. I rent a small place near the industrial area. I wake up early, fix trucks, come home smelling like grease. I don't complain. I met Paige 2 years ago at a Mariners game. A buddy from the shop brought his girlfriend, and she brought Paige. She had on this red jacket, black boots, and her hair was up in a messy bun. She laughed loud and cussed at the ump like she'd been watching baseball her whole life. I liked her right away. She wasn't like the women I usually met. Paige worked in marketing. Big office job. Wore heels and blazers. Had a calendar app she checked every 10 minutes. I didn't really get what she did, but she always talked like she had 20 people depending on her every day. We dated seriously for about 1.5 years. She didn't care that I worked with my hands or that my apartment had mismatched furniture. At least, I thought she didn't. She always said she loved how grounded I was. She said it kept her balanced. I took that as a compliment. Then her dad got sick. Dennis. I liked him. Retired Navy, had that square jaw and always wore old baseball caps from ships he'd served on. We got along because we were both simple guys. Tools, trucks, football. He respected that I worked hard and treated his daughter well. He never acted like I wasn't good enough for her. The heart issue came out of nowhere. One minute he was fine, the next minute he collapsed at their family barbecue. Paige called me crying from the hospital. Said he needed surgery. There was some issue with the VA not covering the full cost. She didn't have the money, and her mom was already struggling with medical bills from years ago. She was losing it. I'd never seen her like that. It killed me to watch her cry like that, pacing the living room, biting her nails, not sleeping. So I did what felt right. I sold my bike. It wasn't just any motorcycle. It was a black 2016 Harley Roadster I bought after my divorce. It was the one thing I had left that felt like mine. I worked on it myself. Weekends were for rides in the Cascades, helmet on, no phone, no distractions. That bike was freedom to me. But I posted it on a local forum. Found a guy from Spokane who came out with cash. He knew bikes, didn't lowball me. Paid me $11,000. I walked into Paige's apartment with the envelope in my hand. Told her I wanted to help. She started sobbing. I mean sobbing. She threw her arms around me and said, "No one's ever loved me like this. No one's ever done anything this real for me." That night, she didn't let go of me once. Dennis had the surgery. He got better. Things felt like they were back on track. Paige was even nicer, more thoughtful. She started cooking dinner at home instead of ordering out. She'd fall asleep on my chest watching old movies, and talk about our future more. She told me she wanted to start looking at houses next year. That she wanted a dog. That we were building something. I believed her. Then came the day everything broke. It was a Friday. I had a half day at the shop. Figured I'd swing by her office with lunch, pulled pork sandwich, and coleslaw from that barbecue place she loved on 6th Avenue. I parked and walked into the lobby like I'd done before. Her assistant, Amy, was on the phone and just waved me through. Said Paige was in the glass conference room down the hall. The door was slightly open. Not enough to see her, but enough to hear. I heard laughter. Then a woman said, "So what's the plan? Is he just temporary?" And I heard Paige's voice say, "He's just the backup. I don't even like him that way. But he's loyal. He's useful. He paid for my dad's surgery, so I'm not gonna cut him off yet. Not until I figure out what's going on with Marcus." They all laughed. That's when I realized I was the backup. The safety net. The fool who sold his freedom to buy her father more time, and she never even saw me as someone she truly wanted. I stood there. I didn't move. I didn't walk in or make a scene. I just turned around and left. She texted me a few hours later. "Babe, thanks for lunch. You're the best, sorry I missed you. Long meeting." I didn't reply. That night, I sat in my apartment with the lights off and thought about every little moment over the last 2 years. The way she always hesitated when we talked about moving in. The work trips, that came out of nowhere. The times I caught her smiling at texts and quickly flipping her phone over. It all made sense. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep much for the next few days either. But I didn't confront her. I played it cool. I needed to know the full truth. I started watching closer. I didn't snoop, at first. But then I saw her laptop open on the kitchen counter one night, and instinct kicked in. Her messages with Marcus were still open. They weren't just flirting. They had slept together. Multiple times. Hotel rooms. Trips to Portland and Olympia that she said were girl weekends. The worst part? She called me Eric the safety net in one of them. So I made a plan. Paige had been working on a huge pitch for months. Some big national client that could land her a VP title. She talked about it nonstop. Her future depended on it. Her boss was counting on her. She had the presentation locked in. Everything scheduled for a Thursday morning. The night before, she stayed at her best friend Mandy's place to stay focused. She didn't want distractions. While she was gone, I sat in her apartment, staring at her laptop. The pitch was saved in her Dropbox, ready to go. I didn't change the whole thing. I didn't need to. I replaced just the first few slides with a video clip. A clip of her voice from that office conversation. Clear audio. "He's just the backup. I don't even like him that way." I sent a copy of the file to her boss. And the client. And a few people on her team I knew had big mouths. Then I left. I turned off my phone. I took a long walk around Point Defiance and just existed. For the first time in months, I felt calm. The fallout came fast. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. 63 missed calls. Dozens of texts. All from Paige. Some were just my name over and over. Others were full of begging, all caps, curse words, and "How could you?" I didn't reply. Then a number I didn't recognize called. I let it go to voicemail. When I checked it, it was her boss. Calm but cold. He said he didn't care what our personal situation was, but Paige had completely humiliated herself and the entire team in front of one of their biggest potential clients. She was suspended pending review. Said they'd be in touch. I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel bad either. That night, she showed up at my door. No makeup. Eyes swollen. Hoodie over her work clothes. She looked smaller than I remembered. "Eric," she whispered. "Let me explain." I didn't let her in. I just stood in the doorway. She started crying right there on the steps. "I didn't mean any of it," she said. "You don't understand. I was just venting. It was stupid girl talk. You're the one I love. You know that." I was scared. "Marcus wasn't. He didn't mean anything. You slept with him." Her face crumbled. "I made a mistake. I didn't know what I wanted. But when you helped my dad. When you gave up your bike. I swear I saw our future. That's why this hurts so much. Because I know what I lost." I looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry for the consequences. "You used me," I said. "You used my kindness, my loyalty, and you thought I'd never find out." She reached for me. I stepped back and shut the door in her face. She kept calling. Texting. She emailed me a 4-page apology. Sent me old photos of us with captions like, "Remember this? She even had her mom call me. Her mom begged me to talk to her, said she wasn't eating, that she was spiraling. A week later, I heard from a friend that Paige was fired. The client pulled out of the deal. Her company didn't want the bad press or the drama. She tried to get ahead of it by saying it was a deep fake, but her own team had confirmed the voice was hers. One of them even shared the video. It went semi-viral on LinkedIn before it got taken down. Marcus? Yeah, he ghosted her. I found out later he was married, and when all this came out, he panicked and ran. Paige tried messaging him. He blocked her on everything. She had nobody left. And that's when things got worse, for both of us. Because 2 weeks after all this went down, Dennis, the man I sold my bike for, called me. I didn't recognize the number at first, but I answered anyway. It was late. I was half asleep on the couch. Eric? The voice said. Gravelly. Hesitant. It was Dennis. I sat up straight. Hey, Dennis. You okay? There was a long pause. Then he said, Can we talk? I drove over to his place. It was the same little ranch-style home he'd lived in for years. I hadn't been back since the day after his surgery, back when Paige and I brought him groceries and I helped fix a leak under his sink. He opened the door. He looked thinner. Tired. But clear-eyed. He didn't say much at first. Just motioned for me to come in. We sat in silence for a while. Then he spoke. I heard what happened. I braced myself. He let out a slow sigh. I'm not proud of her. Not proud of any of it. I nodded, but didn't say anything. I want to tell you something, he said, and he leaned forward in his recliner. That money you gave her? The money from your bike? She didn't tell me where it came from. She said it was a loan from her company. I didn't find out until my wife let it slip last week. My jaw clenched. She lied to you too? He nodded. I owe you my life, Eric. That's not a small thing. And I can't change what she did. But I need you to know, I never would have accepted that money if I'd known. I looked him in the eye. It wasn't about you, Dennis. It was about her. I wanted to help because I thought she was someone worth sacrificing for. His hands trembled a little. I raised her better than that. He whispered. At least I thought I did. I didn't say it out loud, but part of me wondered if maybe he hadn't. Maybe she'd learned how to lie from somewhere. I'm sorry, he said. It hit harder than I expected. Not long after, I said my goodbyes and left. But something about that talk sat with me. Not just because of what he said, but because of what I saw when I pulled away. Paige. Standing in the shadows by the side of the house. Crying. Watching. She didn't say a word. I didn't stop driving. I thought that was the end of it. I went back to work. Started saving for a new bike. Threw myself into long shifts and side jobs. I didn't have time to think about her, and I didn't want to. But life has a way of dragging you back into the mess when you think it's done with you. 3 weeks later, I got served. A notice. Legal letter. Paige was suing me. Claiming I hacked her company files. She accused me of illegally accessing her work computer and sabotaging her career. Said I'd cost her a 6-figure promotion, damaged her reputation, and caused emotional distress. I stood in my driveway, reading that letter over and over, like maybe it would say something different if I blinked hard enough. She wasn't done. She was trying to ruin me now. I wish I could say I was shocked, but deep down, part of me saw it coming. Paige didn't know how to lose. When things didn't go her way, she got mean. She couldn't control the truth getting out, so now she wanted to punish me for it. I read through the papers again. Her lawyer's letter said I had intentionally accessed and tampered with company property, causing irreparable harm to a client relationship and the professional standing of one Paige Reamer. I felt sick. I never thought she'd go that far. It wasn't enough that I gave up something personal for her, or that she stomped on it without a second thought. Now she wanted to drag me through court? I sat down and made a decision. I was done playing nice. I called my cousin Danny. He's a real estate lawyer down in Vancouver, Washington, not exactly an expert in employment law, but he had connections. Within 2 days I had a solid lawyer, a guy named Nate who used to work corporate defense. He looked like he'd rather be fishing than talking law, but he was sharp. I handed over everything. The Dropbox logs. The file path showing that she saved the final presentation to her own cloud drive, on her personal laptop. I even gave Nate the video I used, the one I recorded on my phone when I stood outside that conference room. The same recording I pulled the audio from. He went quiet after watching it. Then he leaned back and said, "We're not just defending you. We're going after her." I blinked. "What?" "She filed a false claim, Eric. That's slander. That's defamation. And based on this video? You've got leverage. We filed a counterclaim the same week. And then everything started coming out. Her firm was still trying to cover up the mess. I guess they didn't want bad press. But the story wouldn't stay buried. Turns out one of Paige's co-workers, Mel, I think her name was, resented how Paige treated everyone. Once our legal battle made the local business blogs, Mel started leaking screenshots. Texts from Paige bragging about milking her boyfriend for her dad's surgery. Jokes about me being a dumb mechanic who thinks chivalry means a down payment. Snarky messages about how the job offer from the client was just a sure thing. She was cruel. And now it was all public. The court date was set for mid-May. Right before that, Paige reached out. Not through her lawyer. Not through some official channel. She texted me. "Please, Eric. Stop this. I'm sorry. You're destroying my life." That was rich. She followed up with more. "I lost my job. Marcus told his wife everything, and now she's threatening to sue me. I have nothing left." I didn't reply. She didn't stop. "I'm getting threats. People are showing up at my apartment. This is too far. You don't have to ruin me." Still, I stayed quiet. She'd made her bed. I wasn't going to tuck her in. Court came. Paige showed up in a cheap pantsuit and tried to look small and sad. Her lawyer pushed hard. Said I had invaded her privacy, twisted a joke between coworkers into something malicious. He tried to paint me as a scorned, vengeful ex-boyfriend who couldn't handle rejection. Then it was our turn. My lawyer played the original recording. The one with her voice, crystal clear. The judge asked 3 times if she was denying that it was her. She didn't answer. Then we showed the laptop logs. The Dropbox access history. All of it pointed to her uploading the file from her personal device and sending it to her own email. No tampering. No hacking. Just truth. My counterclaim was solid. Defamation, false accusation, and emotional damages. We won. The judge didn't just throw out her case, he ordered her to pay legal fees and damages. Not a small amount either. $58,000. She burst into tears right there in court. And that wasn't the end. Turns out Marcus's wife did sue Paige for alienation of affection. It's rare, but it's still legal in a few states, including parts of North Carolina, where they had a vacation home and some activity had taken place. She had proof, texts, receipts. Paige got hit with another lawsuit. Last I heard, she had to sell her car, move out of her apartment, and take a job as a remote assistant for some startup she hated. Dennis stopped talking to her. Her own father blocked her number after finding out what she did. And me? I didn't walk away clean either. The whole thing left a dent in me. For months, I couldn't trust anyone. I lost sleep, I drank too much, I kept wondering how I didn't see it sooner. But over time, I healed. I started riding again. Bought a used bike from a guy up near Bellingham. Not as nice as my old roadster, but it gets me where I need to go. One afternoon, I rode up to the mountains, parked at a quiet overlook, and just sat there. The air was cold, and everything was still. I thought about the money I gave up. The love I thought I had. The woman I thought she was. And I smiled. Because I may have lost the bike. But she lost everything else. And this time, I didn't have to do a damn thing to make it happen. She did it all to herself.